One might well argue, and I would, that the tumultuous and bloody saga of the English Civil War has never truly concluded. Its spectres and shadows continue to lurk in the contemporary political theatre, most notably in the figure of Donald Trump, who, in a manner both grotesque and revealing, mirrors the disposition and perhaps the destiny of Charles I. Consider, if you will, the imperious Charles I, a monarch so enamoured with the divine right of kings that he failed to see the tempest brewing around him. In his obstinacy and refusal to accommodate the burgeoning demand for parliamentary power and civil liberties, Charles set the stage for a catastrophic conflict. His reign, marked by authoritarian tendencies, an aversion to compromise, and a penchant for political gambits that bordered on the tyrannical, led to his downfall and eventual execution, a watershed moment in English history. Fast forward to the 21st century, and one cannot help but draw parallels with Donald Trump. Like Charles, Trump displayed an extraordinary disregard for the norms and conventions of his office. His presidency was characterized by a similar autocratic bent, an eagerness to undermine democratic institutions for personal gain, and a divisive approach to governance that polarized the nation. The English Civil War, in essence, was a struggle over who wielded ultimate authority, the king or parliament. This conflict between unchecked executive power and representative democracy finds a disturbing echo in Trump's presidency. His attempts to subvert the electoral process, his often cavalier attitude towards the rule of law, and his incitement of the Capitol insurrection on January 6, 2021, bear an uncanny resemblance to the kind of monarchical overreach that sparked civil war in 17th century England. Moreover, the factions that formed during the English Civil War, Royalists versus parliamentarians, have their modern counterparts in the deep ideological divides between Trump's base and his opponents. The former, like the Royalists, often seem to regard their leader as infallible, while the latter view him as a grave threat to democratic norms and institutions. In the Putney debates, we find the seeds of these enduring conflicts. The debates were a profound questioning of the very nature of authority and representation. Rainsborough and his ilk argued for a more democratic and egalitarian society, challenging the hierarchical and authoritarian structures embodied by figures like Charles I. This spirit of radical questioning and the demand for broader participation in government is a thread that runs through to our current political discourse, where similar debates rage about the extent and limits of executive power, the role of the people in choosing their leaders, and the principles of equality and liberty. In conclusion, while Donald Trump is no king and the United States no monarchy, the parallels between his presidency and the reign of Charles I are striking and instructive. They remind us that the struggles of the English Civil War over power, authority, and the nature of governance are far from relics of the past. They are rather ongoing debates, continually reenacted on the stage of history, with each act offering new insights into the old dilemmas of power and responsibility. In the throes of the Putney debates, amidst the tumult of clashing ideals, Henry Ireton's retort strikes us particularly prescient. "I will tell you what the soldier has fought for, that the will of one man should not be a law." This assertion, succinct yet profound, encapsulates the crux of the conflict that birthed the English Civil War and continues to resonate in our own time. Ireton's words serve as a stark reminder that the battles fought during the English Civil War were not just over the control of a nation, but over the principles that should govern a society. His rejection of the idea that any one individual's will could dominate the legal and political landscape is a sentiment that finds alarming relevance in the era of Trump. The Trumpian ethos, often centered on the exaltation of the individual will, echoes the monarchical pretensions that the parliamentarians, including Ireton, vehemently opposed. Thus, when we consider the legacy of the English Civil War in the light of contemporary politics, we see not a series of isolated historical events, but a continuing struggle over the nature of power and governance. The war's echoes are discernible in the rise of populist leaders like Trump, who often appear to embody the very authoritarian tendencies that Ireton and his contemporaries fought against.